Okay, welcome everyone. It is time. I am coming in from Dublin, Ireland today. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a lovely sunny May afternoon, and it's time for our webinar. So thank you all of those of you who've joined today. And it's time to start. So I know people will continue to trickle in as we're going, but let's get going as we do have a lot of material to cover. Thank you very much for joining us, everybody. Today's session is called Bridging the Gap: How to Orchestrate Global Mobility and Payroll for Success. Now, this session today is brought to you by the teams at Payrollminds and Mobility Mastery. I'm Michael Steen, as I mentioned, coming in from Dublin, Ireland. I work for Payrollminds, and I'll be the host today. And we have two experts today to answer some questions, present to you, so you can learn a little bit more about today's topic. So I think it should be informative. Feel free to drop your questions into the Q&A feature. So if you look up in the upper right hand of your Teams call, there should be a little icon Q&A. There's a question mark. You can put questions into the Q&A feature there. No need to raise your hand. It won't do anything. So just put your questions into the Q&A feature up in the upper right-hand screen. Hopefully that makes sense. And then also there will be some polls as well. So you'll get access to the polls in the polls section of Teams as well. So you'll be able to see it up in your window. Just to cover that housekeeping there. So all that aside now, we are very lucky because we are joined today by two true experts who live and breathe this topic of global mobility and payroll success. We have Dennis Michels of Mobility Mastery joining us, and also Raymond Omar from Payrollminds, my esteemed colleague coming in from the Netherlands today. So let's start with introductions so you can meet who will be presenting to you, and we'll start with Dennis. Dennis, could you just tell us a bit about yourself so the attendees know who they're hearing from today?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Michael. I'm Dennis Michels, founder of Mobility Mastery. We are a boutique consultancy firm focused entirely on global mobility coordination and strategy. I have a total rewards and tax background, and in my previous life, I worked in Big Four consultancy firms. I headed several in-house departments at corporates across different industries. What else I can tell about myself? Let's think. My focus, is helping companies make their global mobility program strategic, smarter and leaner. I believe that mobility should work hand in hand with payroll and other stakeholders, so not in silos. So I'm here, Michael, to show the audience how we can actually make that happen. So that's from my side.
Thanks, Michael. I think you're on mute, but I did understand that I could introduce myself. That's okay. No worries. Hello, everybody.
Apologies, I put myself on mute while Dennis was talking. Please, Raymond, we'd love to have you introduce yourself to the attendees. Sorry,
it's
lads.
live, so everything can happen. Raymond.
Thank you so much. No worries. I'm Raymond Omar, co-founder and partner at Payrollminds, a global HR payroll consulting firm heading the global advisory transformation practice. In 2020, together with Bart van der Stroom, my business partner, worked quite extended period of time with him, now appointed CEO. We founded this company, and today, proud to say, managing 50 plus consultants globally across the Netherlands, Poland, Philippines, and we recently actually added our location in the United States. Our mission is make payroll as simple and easy as possible. Over the 35 plus years, I've worked with a lot of pleasure, and I've grown in one of the Big Four accountancy firms for more than 13 years. And the last 20 plus years, I've been working as a consultant in the HR payroll industry, supporting global companies that are facing complex payroll setups and transformations. One of the key highlights is also streamlining and improving the operational payroll process, including and specifically international signees. My focus is helping clients to stay compliant, avoid surprises, and make sure payroll and stakeholders like mobility are actually talking to each other. I'm really excited today and happy that we are jointly hosting this webinar together with Dennis. Looking forward to our conversation.
Thanks, Roger.
Excellent. Okay, thank you very much, Dennis and Raymond. Now our attendees know a little bit more about who they're going to be listening to over the next 40 minutes or so. So to get things started, we'd like to know a little bit more about who's in the room, about what's on your mind, about what's bringing you to this today. So we're going to kick things off with a few quick polls to get a feel of who's in the room. So you'll have about 30 seconds to vote on each poll. I think the first one is already up there. So the first poll question: which industry do you represent? We've got technology, finance and banking, healthcare, manufacturing, professional services, and other. So please submit your vote. We'll just give you 30 seconds or so. And the results are pouring in. Very interesting. Okay, so we have a few results in here. A few more are trickling in. It's looking like, oh, I need to read it there. We have a lot of people coming in the professional services industry, and the majority of the attendees so far are from other, that they don't fit into any of those categories. So that is very interesting to know. So thank you very much for the answers to the first poll. So let's jump to the second one. And the second poll here, we want to know about the size of your global mobility program. And we want to know if you have fewer than 20 cases per year, 21 to 80 cases per year, 81 to 150 cases per year, or indeed more than 150 cases per year. We'd be curious to know the size of the global mobility program at your organization right now.
Before answering, let me clarify this question for everyone, because when we talk about the mobility program here, we are also referring to any case that affect payroll from cross-border point of view. So it includes long-term and short-term assignments. We call them also the LTA, STA, but also commuters, remote workers, and local-to-local permanent moves. So I just wanted to let you know.
Oh, cool. Yeah, thanks for highlighting that. Useful to get that added context. So we have about everybody pouring in. I think there might be a couple more who needs to vote, but it's looking like so far the majority is falling in at 21 to 80 cases per year, followed by fewer than 20 cases per year. But there are a couple of them coming in at the bigger scale, more than 150 cases per year coming in there. So hopefully that, Dennis and Raymond informs a little bit how you might speak to folks today. So do we have one more poll? I think we do. So the last poll here, what is your biggest challenge around expat payroll? Local tax and payroll expertise, unclear roles and responsibilities, timing and data accuracy, high visibility of expat payroll errors, audit and compliance risk. And they're pouring in. It's fun to watch them come in live, actually. Something satisfying about that. And the votes are pouring in. So far, local tax and payroll expertise winning the poll so far, followed by timing and data accuracy. Then we've got a tie with a few votes each. Oh, well, audit and compliance risk just went ahead by a nose over the unclear roles and responsibilities as the votes are coming in. All right, so local tax and payroll expertise seems to be for, about the majority of people, the biggest challenge that they have so far. So that's useful to have. Thanks everybody for the participatory element there. And I'm curious now, Raymond, we can elaborate.
I'm happy actually to elaborate a little bit on this during the poll, during the session. I think the poll results are giving us quite some indicative details on where the audience is struggling and foreseeing the elements that we would potentially also cover during the session. So happy to elaborate that.
Yeah, me too. What I'm seeing is something I come across a lot, so it totally makes sense to me. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Great, guys. Well, we have the poll results. Let's dive in. Dennis, we'll start with you. Why is expat payroll so uniquely complex?
Yeah, it can be seen as complex, Michael. I think it's because expat payroll sits right in the middle of tax, finance, HR and mobility. So when it breaks, everybody notices. So if you're not just dealing with processes, processing salary, you're dealing with hypothecs, balance sheets, cost of living, a lot of technical stuff. So if you look at senior executives relocating, the stakes are high. Everybody knows that. And I mean, one wrong move can trigger an audit or damage even trust with the employee. So managing payroll for expats, again, especially senior executives, comes with a lot of complexity and visibility. Errors are not only obvious, but can lead to major internal trust issues, financial losses, and even can lead to full audits. So looking at the poll, I see most of you are running programs between 20 to 80 cases, let's say, a year. Some of them above the 150 a year, so larger programs, but still, there's the thing, whether you're managing 20 or 150 or 2,000 cases a year, the consequences of getting it wrong can be just as serious.
Yeah, no, there definitely is a lot of risk there.
Yeah.
So, you, Dennis, are the founder of Mobility Mastery, of course, and you talk to people about this all the time. So what are the biggest challenges that you're currently seeing the most out there right now?
Thanks. I currently see 4 big challenges mostly, and I see it constantly across all sizes of organizations. So the first big challenge, local payroll expertise. Payroll teams are expected to understand hypotax balance sheets, cross-border tax rules. Yeah, that's a big ask without proper support. A second one, let's say second biggest challenge, ownership and accountability. If it is unclear who owns what, things will fall through the cracks. You will always recommend having a clear RACI model.
Yeah, you're right, Dennis. I mean, let me just echo here.
Yeah.
It's always the situation that payroll need to manage a clear expectation with their stakeholders. They need to agree a comprehensive RACI model to set the roles and responsibilities in a clear way. And solid data is key to manage a successful process, especially when you deal with extended cross-border employment taxations and benefits, long-term incentives involved, stock options, RSUs. These are typical complex elements that you should not leave with payroll to figure out, right? That's not how you can manage it in the right way. We need to be clear. We need to be having complete data from mobility and proper instructions from the tax advisor specifically to enable and execute a compliant payroll and to get the job done properly. Simple.
Yeah, thanks. Absolutely right. Thanks for adding this. And there is a third big challenge, of course, and I see it happening. It's the timing and accuracy of data, whether it's tax calculations, allowances, assignment data, delays or inaccuracies can throw payroll completely off.
This is really one of the bigger challenges, Dennis. Let me add here one thing I really want to highlight is how often payroll teams are expected to manage payroll for international assignees without having the right information or even expertise up front, right? Dealing with a local payroll already could be challenging. I've seen cases where an employee shifts from a local role to an international assignment, but nobody tells payroll up front. The only clue is a cost center change coming from an HR database. And suddenly payroll is supposed to know how to coordinate taxes, benefits, social securities across multiple countries. That's huge. Disconnects, creates risks, and results in errors, and you need to avoid it.
Oh yeah, that's really a huge compliance risk. Thanks for sharing, Ray. And the fourth, I think, and the final biggest challenge, Michael, I see is the visibility of errors. When you get it wrong for a senior executive, everyone knows it. So it becomes not just a payroll problem, but a business one. And that reflects directly on payroll and mobility. I see it everywhere. So when you're moving executives, mobility is in the spotlights and all eyes, let's say it, are on you.
Completely right, Dennis. Let me add here a little bit as well. Don't forget about the highly visible financial exposure a company could have, right? Which will need to be addressed with finance teams across countries. Usually big numbers sitting on the balance sheet to be cleared, reconciled, and settled. Finance commonly must deal with high balances across multiple years and require detailed reconciliation. So it's key and elementary to ensure that it's done properly. How do you do it? It's to getting the right required information from external advisors who are managing the assignees' tax filings year by year in a timely manner, but also global mobility and payroll then have to facilitate the data flow to finance to make sure that they can stay on top of it.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, you're so right, Raymond. Yeah, this is why it's crucial, that we need to build the bridge between our functions and align roles clearly to avoid surprises. So only in that way, payroll and mobility can really support the business.
Okay, good. I think we're getting into some real stuff there. You guys are getting fired up. I appreciate it in this little first section. So I want to take it to, we want to get real here. You know, people have given their time to be with us today. So let's keep
Yeah.
it real. Let's make it real. And Dennis, what is like a real life scenario?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a story into something firsthand you've seen so that we can really get into this a little more specifically, I suppose?
Yeah, sure. One example comes from a client of mine who had a hypotex, for instance, incorrectly implemented in the German payroll for one of their expats. Now, and there was a misinterpretation by the local payroll team of how hypotex should be handled. Now, we found out that he entered the wrong amount and the description for hypotex in the payroll. It's quite technical, but long story short, the German tax authorities, das Finanzamt, they didn't agree with the hypotex amount absolutely due to the incorrect processing by payroll. Now, the consequence was they disallowed the deduction entirely and were forcing my client to recalculate the total tax liability for the entire assignment period. So, and that was 5 years, so retroactively. So that's a long period. And this led to a large financial penalty in the end, interest charges, and a significant reputational damage for my client. And next to it, to make it worse, it triggered a broader audit of the entire local payroll population, which uncovered additional risks and required sweeping corrective actions for the company. So fortunately, the assignee itself was not impacted because he was tax equalized, but it was, yeah, you could say only financial damage, but it was a hairball, that one. But Michael, I have also another example that not only hit the organization but also the human side, if I may so. So I worked with a company where an expat executive was relocating internationally. Due to payroll inaccuracies tied to the hypertext and balance sheet miscalculations, the payroll was significantly off. So the net was really low, and the net income they received was so low than expected that the taxes and social security was also incorrect. So it was both. So from cash flow perspectives and from withholding perspectives. So it created an immediate cash flow problem.
I can only acknowledge this, Dennis. You see that also happening, and what then has to be done by payroll is to manage the issue, to mitigate the problem with the employee, the assignee, resolve the cash flow problem immediately. But moreover, then I think that is specifically then jointly with the parties involved, assess that situation and improve the process going forward to avoid.
Yeah, exactly, Raymond. That's actually, you need to be aware of that the executive was in a new country with their family, trying to settle into housing, schooling, busy new work life. Suddenly, they were short on funds. Now, that's the last thing you want to happen in that case. Now, so the stress also extended to his spouse, children. So it was a full nightmare at the time. So internally, the issue, of course, escalated fast. It eroded trust not only between the executive, the family, the leadership team, HR, but also between payroll, finance, and the mobility team. So we had to act quickly on this. So an urgent one-time correction payment was made by payroll within the same day to stop the bleeding, let's say it like that. But the root cause of the issue itself wasn't resolved at all. So rather than we were pointing fingers to each other, who made the mistake or whatever, Global Mobility and Payroll collaborated as one team. We found the root cause and prevented it from happening again. So we clarified ownership. That's what we did. Implemented joint pay slip reviews, ran training sessions focused on expat payroll fundamentals, and that's all three actions we took turned things around for the future and restored confidence across the board.
That's some serious stuff, and it sounds stressful. I'm glad you made it through. It sounds like you handled it It was no bother to you at all. So
It was not easy. It was not easy,
yeah,
Michael.
yeah.
No,
And
no.
that's a bit from Dennis's side, folks, like from
Yeah.
Mobility Mastery, some real world examples. But let's hear from Raymond then, from your side. You know, you're coming at this from a slightly different lens, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What would
Thanks,
you
Dan.
add to that?
Yeah. Thanks, Michael.
Mhm.
I mean, I can only echo Dennis's example, but here's one that we often see all the time, which is there's often no formal process agreed with alerting payroll when somebody switches from a local role to an international assignment. Me and my team worked with a multinational where an employee transferred internationally, and payroll had no idea, no clue up front. We only found out that there was a cost center change in the HR system. And actually that triggered then the fact that people have been moved. That surely is not good enough. Eh? Meanwhile, the employee already moved countries, payroll received backdated data. The team was then expected to handle the split hypertext obligations, manage host and home payroll requirements, get everything filed correctly without the necessary details.
Good
If
luck.
we are not in the loop early and in time, errors happen fast and they snowball even faster, right? But payroll had already processed everything based on local rules, so you had to rectify it. No one had provided assignment data, tax setup data, clarity on whether a shadow payroll was needed, how to handle the home and host obligations. And because of this, the host country taxes were underpaid,
Hmm.
so security wasn't allocated correctly back home, and this resulted obviously in fines, exposure, and scramble to fix things.
Hmm.
After remediating the issue, obviously, what we had to do is work closely with the company to design a pre-assignment notification process. We helped define ownership across functions and introduced a checklist for every cross-border move. That one change brought much clarity. Prevented a similar issue in the future. Mobility transfers related and assignments related. So it's key to create clear policies known to the business, known to the operations function, so everybody is clear on the steps to be taken to manage a comprehensive data flow related to mobility employees.
Okay, thank you for that, Raymond. And so we've heard from both of you now. So let's bring it together. We've heard your perspectives, your real life stories. So I think we have a couple slides, right, that we're going to show kind of a clear, actionable overview of what a company could do to align both payroll and global mobility. So please let's take a look.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now I will start with the first slide then. Here on the slide, 5 core action points we recommend to do. The first point is act as one team and assign a global payroll liaison. Now, no silos, please, is always what I say. I just started also with this. The person who will become the link in ping in the team will call liaison, overseeing the full process here. So this person should coordinate between mobility, the tax advisor, and the payroll providers and finance. So that's how it should be. This person is making sure everyone is on the same page. That's so important. So allocate someone as a global payroll liaison. Now, the second point, integrate local tax experts. I always recommend to integrate and engage them in the assignment process early. Thank you so much. So this avoid compliance surprises later on. And it's actually true. If you engage them too late, it is really too late. And then you get into compliance issues. So the third action we recommend here is implementing consistent cross-functional communication. Now, what we mean here, we mean set up regular structured meetings across payroll, mobility, HR, finance, and tax if you have one, and otherwise it will be your advisor to align here on the cases and fix issues before they show up in payroll. Action number 4, very important one, clarify process and accountability. This means clearly documenting roles, responsibilities, deadlines, and what to do when things go wrong. So plan B should be there. There's always a plan B. Look into that. Make a playbook of this. Do something here, but it should be very clear about the roles, the responsibilities, and the deadlines. The last action point I want to raise here and want to mention is the leverage integrated technology solutions. It's a great one because make sure you use the right tag. There's a lot of tech around here, and also in your organization. You need to look what kind of tech you can use. Real-time data sharing reduces mistakes and helps to avoid the kind of back and forth emails, what you see quite a lot in your Outlook, and it often leads to missed details and also GDPR risks.
Love it. Thanks, Dennis. I love the passion I can hear that you have for that. So, Raymond, from your side, what are your practical best practices that you would?
Yeah, I'm happy to share some of these elements as well. Michael, thank you for that. I think one of the key first things that I would want to raise is cross-training programs, right? Making sure that you arrange and manage training and knowledge sharing, which is really a must. Provide intensive interaction training for global mobility, payroll teams, but even also finance, and then particularly around the cross-border hypertext, social security and balance sheet methodologies, because I think that is key to make sure that all the functions understand the basics around what is involved with global mobility and assigned employees, right? So that's number one. Second, centralized databases, right? I would suggest use the right tools for the right size of your program. And I've seen the poll, and you can see that there's quite some significant numbers. And even if you have a couple assignees, you need to make sure that you have a proper database. And we all know Excel, right? Excel is key within payroll industry, I have to say. But if you have less than 20 cases, Excel is fine, right? You can start there. But once you grow, you need to make sure that you then switch into a more centralized tool or technology-based system managing then all expat required data to make sure that also the HRS is set up in such a way that you can manage cross-border employments, right? You need to make sure that you improve the payroll data, the accuracy around it, and streamline timely information flow, leveraging on the right technology. Third, what I would say is foster continuous improvements. And I think that is also picking up a little bit from Dennis, making sure you create a culture of continuous feedback. Because payroll is not a one-time thing, it's ongoing, right? So you need to make sure you create a culture wherein you continuously are in touch with each other, you're involving the functions to manage the mobile employees payroll process regularly. So regularly solicit for feedback from your stakeholders. Maintain an open dialogue between mobility, payroll, and finance month by month. So that will make you enhance your process ongoing. Third one, clarify assumptions. And assumptions is a nasty word, I have to say. Upfront, never make assumptions. With payroll, it's all about facts. There's no assumptions to be made. So what I would suggest is proactively validate your understandings, right? Make sure your data is solid and crisp, and make sure that you document your agreements between mobility, the payroll team, the payroll function, finance teams, but include external advisors. Everybody needs to be aware of what you agree upon, and always clarify your details in such a way that the data in periodic meetings with your relevant stakeholders, make sure you are on top of your data is key. Last but not least, what I would say, joint preview of payslips. Potentially one that I keep repeating to my teams. Always do a joint effort to review your payslips with mobility teams, external advisor. It sounds really simple, but it's really key. It enables you to catch errors before you reach the employee and before it avoids you to expose. That's what I would say.
Okay. Thanks for that, guys. So hopefully for those of you attending, maybe there's a few notes being taken, thinking up a few bits of inspiration from what's shared so far. Again, a reminder, if you want to put a question in, just use the Q&A function. You're welcome to add a question. So let's look a little bit more at some strategy pieces for folks. How do you connect, Dennis, all of this? You both listed those things on your slides. How do you bring that back into your strategy?
Yeah, that's actually a quite good question. But I think when mobility and payroll are aligned, you move from reactive chaos, which it is, to proactive control. That's always what I say to my clients. So you save money, stay compliant, and your employees feel supported. And in the end, I think that's the goal, right?
Yeah, exactly, Dennis. I mean, and for payroll teams, being part of a strategy means you make running the payroll simple and easy, and you help the business to start, grow, and improve, and you come up with a center of excellence to advise and to strategize, and that helps you reducing risks.
Okay. Well, then for both of you, we've covered all this, looked at it from a couple of different angles, vantage points. Like, what are the final thoughts that you want to leave with the group today on this topic?
Shall I start? Okay.
Please, Dennis, go ahead. Yeah.
I think two things. Yes, just build the structure before something breaks. That's really important, and I should never wait for an audit to get aligned.
You're right.
That's
You're
really
right,
not what I recommend. So don't wait. Get into action. Okay, you, Raymond, perhaps?
Yeah. Let me say it like this, and that's also one of our mantras and visions, right? In strategy, keep it simple, communicate clearly, review your process regularly, right? Make sure you do the checks, your controls, and last but not least, build that bridge between the functions. Mobility and payroll needs to stay connected.
Yeah, for sure.
Build the bridge. This whole thing's called bridging the gap. So that was a great way to end that portion, Raymond. Well spoken, well said. So we have had a few questions come in that I've seen. I've been monitoring the Q&A function. So shall we jump into some of the questions, guys?
Yeah.
Is that all right? Okay,
yeah,
cool.
curious.
So I think this one might make the most sense for you, Dennis. What are some of the usual signs within an organization that show that it's in the right moment to do this, like to do this optimization of global payroll and mobility processes together? What are the signs of that?
Okay, so when is the right moment to optimize? That's what you're saying, right? Yeah, that's.
What they're saying. What are the typical signs within a company that it's time?
Yeah, of course, a good question. But the right moment is always now. That's the right moment. But typically, if there are a few clear signs, when you really need to start optimizing, let's say it like that. Now, I see a sign of repeated payroll mistakes or employee complaints about incorrect payments. That could be a sign that you think, okay, something is wrong here. We need to do something to optimize, especially if you look at the expat payroll or the international assignees. There's another sign, I think, if there is confusion or frequent miscommunication about roles and responsibilities between the stakeholders, mobility, payroll, HR, finance, sometimes other stakeholders. That could be a sign that you think, hey, there's accountability we should do something about here, and responsibility. And a reactive management, that's definitely a sign. That means when you notice payroll issues are consistently resolved only after they escalate, then you are not in control. So that will result in financial losses, audits. So, and there could be many more, I think. So when you see any of these signs, it's time to bring a specialized support to optimize and realign your global payroll process. Yeah. So, and perhaps Raymond, you have something to add here?
Yeah, I actually agree, Dennis. Let me add and complement a little bit here, because also looking at what you were saying, reactive management, but also on when to optimize precisely, I would say always make sure if there's unclarity, make sure you agree a clear RACI. Come up with the proper roles and responsibilities. Make sure all functions understand what their part is in the whole process, and make sure you constantly improve the process accordingly, because only then you could indeed work constantly on optimizing and improving their process.
Okay, and just in case anyone doesn't know, what is RACI? What's RACI?
Actually, that is a matrix that you need to define. It's the abbreviation to manage the RACI, like the roles and responsibilities between functions. The R stands indeed for responsible, the A for accountable, the C for consultable, and the I for informable. So it's labeling each and every one to understand what their role is in a process or a procedure.
And we use this quite a lot, also not only in payroll, but in a lot of different flows. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, just in case there was someone out there who maybe wasn't familiar.
Very great.
So the next question here. So like at their company, they think that they're doing okay, and they're not sure if there are hidden compliance risks in the global payroll setup. So how could we quickly check where we might have a risk is the question.
Shall I start? Okay.
Yeah, go
Please.
ahead.
Yeah,
Dennis.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Let me think. Yeah, quickly check. Okay, at Mobility Mastery, we offer mobility compliance risk scans. We do this for free, of course, because you will first want to know where your compliance is. So the assessment. So it's just a quick assessment. We review your mobility program on compliance risks to uncover hidden issues and inefficiencies, and then we will come up with our recommendations. But yeah, that's what we offer as a company. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what could I add here? I would say, let me jump in here as well from a Payrollminds perspective is we have expert teams that can assist you in transforming your payroll into a highly effective operations to support the business needs and deliver seamless employee experience. And for that reason, what we can facilitate is a discovery, a data gathering session to analyze and scope out the landscape and leveraging on the decades of payroll management experience. Our team can help identify and prioritize the unique needs of your payroll team, your processes and system. Those are the three pillars which I start with when we go through an analysis of your company, and we say always hire one of us and you get access to all of us with all our expertise.
Oh.
Cool. Well, to those of you listening, following along at home, both of these gentlemen could be a great resource for you if you are afraid of blind spots. So, feel free to connect with them on that because there'd be no better guys for it. So another question here. Our global mobility and payroll teams are often out of sync, and that leads to confusion and mistakes. What are your suggestions for improving communication between the teams so that we work better together?
Shall I take this one?
Go ahead, Dennis. Go,
yeah,
please.
Are you Raymond? But okay. Now we came across this issue in the webinar, so we discussed this already a bit. But there are practical actions you can implement immediately, like the payroll liaison, the linking ping, bridging between mobility, payroll, and all the other stakeholders. You can establish a structure with regular alignment meetings between all the stakeholders. That's how I should do it. And yeah, develop that RACI model, what was just explained by Raymond. But yeah, that's actually what I would say on this question. Raymond, you perhaps?
Yeah, let me take this one as well. I think what you want to make sure is here to foster ongoing and continuous improvements, because as I always say to my team members as well, when they're outsourced or assigned to clients helping out improving processes, make sure you are keen and questioning everything, and then consider the best practices actually that we shared before. Always be sharp on it.
Okay. Let's see. There's actually quite a few and a couple that came in the last minute as well. So thanks, folks, for your participation. So
that's good to know.
This is about expats. I'll try to just summarize it. It's a little long. How do you deal with how do you deal with compliance issues related to expats as a payroll team?
Yeah, if I may, Dennis, let me jump on this one first. Now, this time around, that's good.
Do it.
Yeah, very good question, I have to say, right? And if you look at it, that also came out of the poll as one of the bigger topics, right? So I'm always saying, don't expect your payroll professionals to be or become an expert on cross-border employment tax, right? That's such an expertise, but instead, think of enabling the function with a tailored, and I would always say, external tax advisory service. In the industry, what I've done so far with other assignments as well is to come up with a service model where you outsource the so-called tier 3 expertise to manage complex payroll topics and challenges across expats payrolls. And we used to call them phone a friend model, which is that you get required and specific tailored access to a tax advisor to get the knowledge that you need ad hoc on a demand basis. That's how I would say to manage that part, right? Make sure you facilitate, you enable your function accordingly. Dennis, your thoughts on those one?
Oh, it's a nice word. The phone, how you call it? The
Phone a friend model.
Phone a friend. That sounds crazy. That's cool. I like that. I will take that one. Well, I noted it. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. From my side, yeah. How to deal with compliance issues, man. Okay. I would suggest to always reach out to mobility team for sure, if you have any. Yeah. If you don't have, reach out to HR or to external experts to help out. But don't do it yourself. So don't Google it yourself. That's always what I say, because you see a lot of people chat GPT and they try to get things resolved. I can tell you there's a little bit things can just be different because of the facts and circumstances, and you are going completely off. So please involve the right experts and reach out internally to the experts if you have one. That's it.
Okay, cool. So another one here, probably for Raymond, because it's payroll. Should the payroll team be accountable for resolving balance sheet accruals or tax equalization?
I like that question. Raymond, tell me.
Nice one, nice one. Wow. Okay, what can I say? So first, for straight no, right?
Ooh.
Payroll team are not financial accountants. Usually they have background in finance or HR, but they are not accountants. So what I would say is a joint responsibility with stakeholders, mobility, tax advisors, finance. They all need to manage to get the right data flow in place, right? And meet all functions needs. So tax advisors normally do all the tax filings and make sure that it's done in a timely manner. To manage the yearly hypertax equalization settlements, but also to make sure that all the data flows back to mobility and payroll teams to make sure that they can connect the dots and then manage the required data to flow into finance and enabling finance to do their balance sheet reconciliations and their clearance, right? So no, you should not say that payroll is accountable for it, but they have a significant part in managing and getting all the data to finance, for sure.
Okay, Dennis, do you have anything you want to say on that one, or should we move on?
No. I completely agree with Raymond, of course. And then just to add, this one is for the mobility team and the finance team to follow up. If you ask me about accountability, and we should make sure the accruals get closed out internally before the end of the fiscal. That's also what I see with the mobility teams. And if everything was processed properly, payroll should not need to be involved in this. But I think, you added a lot of, you answered this question quite clear, Raymond. Thank you. Yeah, I agree.
Thanks, Dennis.
Cool. Okay.
I hope the audience also feels like that. That's obviously what we want to achieve.
Yeah, of course. We need to collaborate as payroll, mobility, and sometimes you see who will get this ball, who will take care of this, and you're saying not accountable, joint responsibility. That's first, but not a sole responsibility, because that's also where you see it is more finger pointing than resolving the issue together. So the one team, what I mentioned in the action point, is really clear. The first point. Okay.
Okay, nice. So there's just two more. I think we have time to do them. So one question coming in here. I've been at companies with mobility teams and others where the mobility tasks were split between HR and payroll teams. Not ideal, I know, but nonetheless, it is a reality at some companies. What is your best recommendation for payroll teams managing plenty of mobility specific tasks?
That's a good one. I would say, if you ask me, if there are split responsibilities between HR and mobility and payroll, I should say you first should see the overall picture. So you need to get an agreement together who will take over from which point. Because if the responsibility goes still here and the other one is not overlapping, then you drop the ball. So there should be an overlap in between, and you need to get this all, I think, agreed together. So the RACI should be very clear who is taking over from where on. And you, Raymond, what do you think?
I think it's clear, good input, Dennis, but I think it's clear to make sure that you need to have segregation of duties, right? But if depending on the size of the company, depending on the size of the program, clearly you could have joint activities all together, and usually payroll can roll up into an HR function or sometimes in the finance function, that's always the big question. But I would always say in that regard, make sure that indeed you have an agreement with each other to make sure that where somebody's responsibility ends, the other one picks up, and make sure that holistically in the end-to-end process, everybody knows where to jump in and take that ownership. And that's how you need to manage it, right? To jointly say, okay, the end goal is you want to be successful. The end goal is you want to make sure that the employee's payroll is done 100% accurately. So in that regards, I would say make sure that you try to manage the accurate activities and label them accordingly, and then take them jointly together for sure.
And I also think that you should be very sure and check if someone is for the other responsibilities taking over from that point, because sometimes you think, here my process stops, done. No, you need to ask the other person, here you go, this is where it stops, take it over from here on, and then you get this smooth, let's say, process.
Yeah, and
Nice,
maybe
guys.
just to add a little bit before on that one, Dennis, is also, as I said before, create a culture that you're ongoing connected with each other. Make sure you have embedded a process and a procedure where you stay connected, right? You need to make sure in the end, when the payroll is out and it's approved, it's crisp and clear and it's 100% correct.
Cool. Nice to hear you guys get going on that one there. So there's just two more, and I think they're both pretty good topics. So we'll jump into them. One, it's difficult to attend any conference, any talk, anything without hearing the acronym AI. So here's a question on that. How can we incorporate and utilize AI in global mobility and payroll processes? What do you see for that?
Well, a nice one. Maybe if I may jump on first on that one, Dennis, is that okay?
Yeah. Fine.
Yeah, what I've seen now is also, and actually in one of my current assignments today, a significant multinational corporate company, a lot of the size of the program is high, it's big. There's high volume numbers of IAs, and what we are typically making sure and advising this client is to come up with a technology that collects all the data from different sources, including mobility, including LTI, including tax advisors. So what happens is that we advise the client to say, okay, come up with a technology that consolidates all of that data all together in such a way that you have one way of working, you have a standardized methodology of collecting all the data, controlling the data in such a way also to be able to specifically share those with your in-country payroll providers, and utilizing the mechanism to collect input in such a way that you also can do the comparison afterwards automatically using AI. A reconciliation methodology is then applied. The controls and checks are done automatically, and the payroll function then only needs to, like, from a center of excellence perspective, look at the results and see and look at the discrepancy. So I think that is, for me, one of the key things that you see developing in the industry based on AI technologies, consolidating data. If a company doesn't have a one way of working in a standardized mechanism with various sources outside of Workday, that could be one of the key things going in the new way of working.
Absolutely, yeah. For mobility, yeah, you can automate data reconciliations. That's not very. Yeah, you see it quite a lot as a solution. Cross-verify employee data, location, assignment status, and that kind of things. I see also real-time compliance monitoring. That you see monitoring real-time employee movements, tracking them. 183-day rule, for instance, from tax point of view, permanent establishment risks. So AI is quite important here to get things really aligned but in place. Using the right tech, because that was also my last point of my actionable overview, leverage integrated technology solutions is here key. There's no one size fits all AI solution because some have a small size program, some have a large size program, depends, and also needs different tech. If you have a large one or a small one, it depends. Some even just do it via an Excel spreadsheet, which I not always recommend, but it can be the case for really small size. But AI is then not really key here to optimize payroll and mobility together. But yeah, there are a lot of different ways to do it. But I think, yeah, in the end, you can't avoid AI in this process to implement this and embed this in the processes. And how? Yeah, that depends per organization, what kind of solution I should think about. But there are a lot of good things about AI here. So you can do a lot of nice things. Yep.
Okay. Thanks, guys. So we'll just have one more question and then we'll wrap up. So one more. As more organizations move to cloud-based platforms and integrate payroll systems, the risk around cross-borders data sharing grows. What kind of protocols can be used to ensure secure handling of international employee data?
Oh, Raymond, did you
That's
come
a good
across this
question,
one?
obviously. Yeah, let me jump on this one. I think one of the key things here you need to ensure and consider is obviously always is data privacy, right?
Yeah.
Securing, making sure that whichever vendor you take in place covers global, regional, local requirements in terms of data privacy, but also famous GDPR solutions, but also make sure manage access in such a way that you have secured protocols, right? Make sure that you have designated roles, designated people that can access systems, that can indeed share the information throughout the IA, throughout the platforms. So it's really role-based, assigned, secured accesses. Use single sign-on protocols, right? The company I'm with now indeed has very strict and severe protocols in terms of the security, accesses, data privacy, GDPR. So know where your vendors keep your data, right? Make sure that they adhere to the protocols. There's no leeway there. It is very strict, and companies need to be cautious with how they manage their data. So that's how I would envision that.
A small thing to add here, because I
Sure.
think the data minimization is quite necessary. If you look at GDPR and all the other regulations we have, I think privacy and compliance framework should be in place. There should be a role-based access control, regional data hosting and residency. There are a lot of things to think about, but the governance should be clear. If you have things stored in a data in a cloud and you have cross-border moves, that every single region needs their own has their own regulations. So that's what I wanted to add. And yeah, it is quite clear that cross-border data transfer agreements are required. Let's say it like that. Yeah.
Fully aligned.
Great. Cool. Thank you both for that. Thank you. I think we worked you hard. We made you ask 8 questions there. So thanks for that. And we're going to wrap things up, folks. Thanks for your attention over the last 50 minutes or so. Thank you for those of you that came along. We acknowledge that this was rescheduled from a couple of weeks ago. So it's great to have you join us today. And there were a lot more people who registered as well. So don't worry, all of you will receive the recording as well as the deck in a follow-up email from this session. So stay tuned for that. And of course, please reach out to Dennis, reach out to Raymond if you have questions on this topic. You can find them on LinkedIn. Their contact information will be in the information that we send out to you afterwards. So they would love to talk to you.
Yep.
So please feel free to utilize them as a resource. So thank you all very much for attending Bridging the Gap, our webinar. It was an enjoyable hour, and we'll give you back maybe 8 minutes left of your day. Hopefully you have a break before your next meeting. So thanks so much, guys. And if you can use the applause button, is there the reaction? We should give a little round of applause to Dennis and Raymond if possible. Some virtual applause for you since everyone's
Thank you so much, Michael, and appreciate it. It was a pleasure.
Yes, you're welcome.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Take care.
Thank you.
Take care.
Good night.